Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the opportunities that it's afforded us to serve you and our community. And we pray more for the same this evening for our city council, that you'll be with them, Lord, as they make decisions, that it'll be those that would not only honor you, but also would help us to continue to have a great city here in Paris. Also would pray for your knowledge and your wisdom and for your guidance to be over all that's said and done tonight, that it may honor you again and honor us as the citizens of Paris. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry. Thank you, Dr. Grossnickel. Item number 4 on the agenda is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the Council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the Council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. If you want to address, please come forward to the podium, write your name and address for the record. If there's nobody wanting to address the Citizens Forum is now closed. Item 4B is a proclamation recognizing the month of November as the National Hospice Month. Whereas every year more than 1.58 million Americans living with life-threatening illnesses and their families receive care from the nation's hospice programs in communities throughout the United States. And hospice and palliative care offer the highest quality of care to patients and families and bring comfort, love, and respect to all those they serve. Hospice allows people to spend their final months surrounded by family and loved ones at home, wherever home may be. Hospice and palliative care professionals, including physicians, nurses, social workers, therapists, counselors, health aides, and clergy, providing comprehensive and compassionate care that make the wishes of each patient and family member their priority. More than 468,000 trained volunteers contribute 21 million hours of service to hospice programs annually. And through pain management and symptom control, caregiver training and assistance, and emotional and spiritual support, patients are able to live as fluffy as possible through the journey as fully as possible through the journey at the life's end. The commitment of more than 1,600 hospice providers, NHPCO, and the Department of Veterans Affairs have allowed the innovative program. We honor veterans to thrive and ensure that veterans find the compassion, care, and dignity they deserve at the end of the life. Whereas the provision of the quality hospice and palliative care reaffirms our belief in the essential dignity of every person, regardless of the age, health, or social status, and that every stage of human life deserves to be treated with the utmost respect and care. Now, therefore, I, A.J. Hashmi, Mayor of the City of Paris, Texas, hereby proclaim the month of November 2013 as the National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, and encourage all people to learn more about options of care and to share their wishes with family, loved ones, and their healthcare professionals. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Paris to be affixed this day of 28th October 2013. If I can please ask, Janice, who's receiving this?
It's Ms. Gardner.
Ms. Gardner?
Mr. Mayor, if you will allow me, I think there's some other folks back here in the back, maybe we'd like to have them stand and be recognized too, that are
Sure, please.
part of this. Or maybe I'm wrong.
Would you like, why don't you come forward?
And also, just a friendly reminder to talk really close to your microphones, everyone, this evening.
Thank you. I saw you leaning forward.
Real close.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any wish to discuss any items on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull number 9 for introduction of a new proposed program.
Okay. I'll second it. Anyone opposed to this? Pulling number 9 out? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, this item is going to be brought up as a regular agenda item, but I'm going to briefly touch on this for a brief minute or two. And I want to first of all thank Liberty, and Mr. Wright, correct me if I'm wrong, Liberty National Bank, Lamar National Bank, as well as First Federal Bank and Guarantee Bond Bank. And that is for their support in something that the city wants to bring forward. It is going to be brought in the next council meeting for the council to review it first, and then it will be presented. But basically, since it's related to dilapidated structures, I'm just going to say a few words, and that is that we allocated about $400,000 towards dilapidated structures, and we are bringing these structures down. However, at some point, one must realize that the money will run out, and there will be more dilapidated homes coming up. And to avoid this, what we wanted to see if the banks will provide us some support with simple loans of up to $5,000 for people to repair their homes. It is still being worked at. We have not decided that it's going to be done yet. It has not been approved by the council yet. But these are the thoughts to try to repair some of these homes so that some of the money is saved. This will be loans from the bank, and details of that will be brought out in the next council meeting when it's fully presented to the council. But I want to again thank for all the efforts of Mr. Cecil and others who came to those meetings and are providing some assistance to the city to address this important problem. With that said, if we can please put it on the next council agenda so that we can properly discuss this item. Any other items on the consent agenda? Anyone wants to address? No, nobody? Can I have a motion on the consent agenda then?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. We move on to the regular agenda. Item number 12 is receive presentation from Gunnery Sergeant John O'Donnell of Toys for Tots. I'd like to welcome him. And please come up for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I want to start this presentation with a Christmas story that may be told a little bit different than you may have heard it in the past. 'Twas months before Christmas, and all through the city, all the residents were sleeping, or at least watching TV. Then came a rumble from down below. A sewer pipe was just about to blow. Water flooded into a small warehouse room that was filled with Christmas gifts for those in most need of a Christmas wish. A quick phone call was made from within that room to a young bearded man that may have been groomed by Santa himself. Then he called his helpers, who all came with a cheer, all wanting to make sure that no child would go without a Christmas gift this year. Ladies and gentlemen, this story has happened here in the city of Paris this past August. We had a Toys for Tots campaign holds a warehouse in what was formerly the YWCA, and a city pipe backed up and caused that warehouse to begin flooding with sewage. I made a phone call to Mr. Shane Grissom, who immediately contacted other city workers who came in at 9 o'clock at night to ensure that no Christmas gift was lost in that room. And in that room was over $15,000 worth of Christmas gifts for the 2013 Toys for Tots campaign. So in recognition of that, I contacted the Marine Corps Reserve, General Mills, and usually we don't recognize people until after the Toys for Tots season is complete, which is typically after the Christmas holiday. But in this case, he felt it was due that these gentlemen were recognized at this point. So I'd like to call up Mr. Shane Grissom, Mr. Robert Smith, Mr. Jerry Musick, Mr. Jody Wood, and Mr. Chris LaRue. United States Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots Commander's Award. The United States Marine Corps Reserve is proud to recognize Shane Grissom, Robert Smith, Chris LaRue, Jerry Musick, and Jody Wood for outstanding support of the 2013 Lamar and Delta County Marine Toys for Tots program. Your generous contributions have enabled the Marine Corps to bring the joy of Christmas and send a message of hope to America's less fortunate children. Signed, Richard P. Mills, Lieutenant General, United States Marine Corps, Commander, Marine Forces Reserve. Another tribute to these gentlemen, we have a token of appreciation that goes back to World War I when we passed on a coin of appreciation. So on behalf of your contributions to Toys for Tots campaign, I'm going to pass each of you a coin. And understanding as a Marine that my spouse stood with me through thick and thin, through my 22 years in the Marine Corps. I know your spouses or significant others, understood leaving at 9 o'clock at night, wasn't always what they wanted to happen. So I'm also giving you a Toys for Tots pin for their support. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to present these awards to these fine gentlemen. They truly were Santa's elves this year, and what they have done has definitely going to impact all of Lamar County by their efforts.
Thank you so much for coming. Item number 13 is here a request from Maxey Rifleman Gun Club to renew their lease at Lake Crook. Is there anyone who wants to speak? Yeah.
Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Reagan Skaggs. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Maxey Rifleman Gun Club. As part of our request for an agenda item, I submitted to you a letter requesting that the property leased by the Maxey Rifleman Gun Club from the city, that the lease be renewed for another 5 years. We've been leasing the property since the mid-'80s. The gun club currently has about 600 members, which is up 50% from 5 years ago, the last time that we requested the lease be renewed. Basically, we'd like to just continue as we have been, and I'm here then to answer any questions you might have.
I have some questions, but let me ask Mr. Godwin a quick question first. Mr. Godwin, we've done this for 5 years last time?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Are there any exit clauses in it that in case you wanted to exit out of this lease, can one get out or not?
I'll have to defer There should be, there typically is.
Yes, sir. As I recall, there is a clause in the event that it becomes necessary to.
Either party gives advance notice.
Either party gets to
short
withdraw.
advance notice.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I have some questions for you, Mr. Skaggs. First of all, I had the pleasure of visiting this last Saturday, and I think it's a beautiful place. What can the city do to improve on it? What are the things that you think will improve the rifle club or the rifle range, or do you have any thoughts on what improvements can be brought in it to make it a more attractive place for people to go? Do you have, what I'm asking, do you have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan or some sort of a plan for its improvement? Because I thought it was a real asset there.
Thank you, sir. No, actually, I guess I'm ashamed to say we do not have a 5-year plan going forward. Just to kind of bring folks up to speed on what we do, we have people who come and mow the property to keep the grass down. We have it trimmed. We do have porta potties there. We don't have running water, but we do have porta potties which are serviced on a regular basis. And we have trash pickup that comes weekly to remove the litter that's picked up and deposited in the bins. I'd have to spend a little more time thinking about what it would take to answer your question with respect to future improvements. Just to talk about it for a second, this firing range is the only one for miles and miles around. We have people who come not only from Paris and surrounding areas, but we have people who are members from as far away as Dallas, Plano, McKinney. We have people who come from even Greenville, Sulphur Springs, Cooper, in that direction. So it is a jewel in that respect. It's a place where people can come and safely practice their shooting skills.
Do you have skeet shooting there?
No, sir, not at our club. There is about a mile or so on down FM 79 from us is the Paris Skeet and Trap Club. There is a shotgun club here.
Can I make a request that maybe you could come up with some ideas for its improvement and see if we can find some way of doing it so that it becomes a very attractive rifle range for people to come there and, enjoy basically?
Yes, sir. We'd be glad to look at that.
Great. Mr. Wright.
I have no questions.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
What type of backstops do you have, or what when you're shooting out there?
Sir, we have berms that earthen berms that are approximately 8 feet tall, maybe 9. I'm not positive exactly, but they're taller than I am quite a bit.
Okay. And sufficiently thick that you
Yes, sir.
pretty much contain most of the shots?
They're about 20 feet thick at the base and probably 10 at the top.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Fryson?
Not necessarily for you, but John or Kent, is there any other demand or competition for this space that would prohibit us from moving forward?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
They've been there a long time. I think people kind of accept them as being there and providing the service they've provided.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as my opinion, you guys proceed as you see fit.
Ms. Drake?
No questions, same thing. They've been there for a long time.
Okay. Mr. Hundley, what is the berm height at the police firing range?
The height on the south berm is around 15 feet, and the berm on the west side is around 18 to 20 feet.
Okay. Do you think they need a higher berm?
I've been to the range once or twice. I'm not really sure what's behind the berms, but depending on 35 acres, I would think that there's a lot of space behind the berms, isn't there?
Yes, sir, there is a lot of space. What's back there is the lowland that's
Behind Lake Crook, that
the
there's
back
not
of
anybody
Lake.
there.
It's basically a swampy area
Mr.
behind
Napier?
Lake Crook.
It's in a floodplain, so there's nothing there and nothing is going to be there. And people don't access, people don't go walking around there, I take it.
We do have signs posted by the road that it is a bullet impact zone
Impact
for
area.
people to stay out.
I think it's a great place. I think it's a good weekend spot to go. And so I think we should come up with some sort of ideas to say, make more use of it and see if we can make it a more attractive place than what it already is.
All right, sir.
So that would be great, but I have no objections to, personally, to extend the lease. I'll make the motion on this, that the lease be.
This isn't an action item, we just want to get your feedback, make sure everything was okay to proceed.
Okay.
So we'll just put this on a future agenda for you to
Okay.
formally approve it.
How much time do you think you need to come back with some suggestions for the range?
Give me a few weeks on that, sir. It's going to take a little brainstorming
Okay.
to think of that.
Would you please call Janice and put yourself back on the agenda
Yes, sir, I will.
with suggestions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 14 is presentation by PEDC Board Chairperson Rebecca Clifford on PEDC expenditures and oversight. I want to say a quick thing. First of all, Ms. Clifford, thank you again for coming. You did a very detailed, thorough job last time. And I think this presentation is in response to questions raised by Mr. Wilson regarding the validity of some of the numbers that were presented again. So I welcome you again, and so you can start your presentation. But again, thank you again for coming.
We have a report.
Can everyone see the screens in the front? Otherwise, you are more than welcome to turn your chairs the other way.
You ready? Good evening. My name is Rebecca Clifford, and at the October 14th, 2013 City Council meeting, I requested to be placed on the agenda tonight to address questions raised by citizen Mr. Don Pinky Wilson regarding my presentation to the City Council on September 9th of the comparison of the PEDC expenditures to those of its peers. Thank you for allowing me to address his questions and comments. Since my response would be not complete without discussing the issues raised in my initial presentation, I will again publicly highlight my concerns regarding past operations of PEDC. I was hoping that the PEDC board and staff would be allowed to again focus on what should be our mission: promoting, assisting, and enhancing economic development through the creation of primary jobs for the betterment of the citizens of Paris, Texas, but such is obviously not the case. Mr. Wilson has publicly accused me of unethical behavior. I categorically denied this accusation. My report to the council contained the most accurate numbers that were available to me at the time of my presentation. The numbers for PEDC expenditures that Mr. Wilson states that should have been used have been proven to be incorrect by the audit performed by McClanahan and Holmes. To use these numbers that had been proven to be incorrect would have indeed been unethical. Using the logic presented by Mr. Wilson, I would not be able to discuss PEDC spending at all. I cannot change information, even to correct errors, and I cannot present information, false information. He must find it unethical to correct mistakes. In fact, he states it's not about which numbers are correct, as you can read on the screen. My own code of ethics does not allow me to present false information, and I will not do so regardless of what Mr. Wilson claims. On September 9th, I presented to the council a report in which I informed the council of issues that needed to be addressed and what the board was doing about these issues. Issues included, but were not limited to, gifting of taxpayer money, excessive spending, and volunteer recruitment. At the conclusion of my presentation, Mr. Frierson was the only council member that had additional questions. I later met with Mr. Frierson to answer his questions. We spent 2 hours discussing the issues that I presented. I showed him all of my documentation for the information. I answered all questions that were presented to me. No one else has contacted me with questions. PEDC has met 3 times since my presentation. These meetings are open to the public, and in fact, frequently citizens do attend. Mr. Wilson has not attended any of those meetings and has not contacted me regarding any questions. Let me begin by stating my role on the PEDC board. I am a volunteer, and as such, I receive no compensation. I am a CPA, but I am not the accountant for PEDC. Like every applicant for the PEDC board, I have provided you with information regarding my background, educational background and accomplishments, and because it was in accordance with PEDC bylaw section 4.02, the council shall consider an individual's experience, accomplishments, and educational background in appointing members to the board. Being a CPA is just one of my accomplishments. Every board member has equal voting power. As chairman, I have no more control over the operations of PEDC than any other board member. The experiences, accomplishments, and educational background of every board member are important and contribute to the success of PEDC. Although the first issue that I mentioned earlier, the gifting of taxpayer money, is by far the most troublesome issue, I will start with the issue regarding excessive spending, since this is the issue, or rather my presentation of this issue, that Mr. Wilson chose to question. In my presentation, I used the following chart comparing spending of PEDC to 7 peer cities. I would like to review this chart with you along with the supporting documents in the chart we have on the back. First, let us start with a selection of the cities to be included in the comparison. According to the April 13th, 2010 minutes, Mr. Gilbert identified peer cities in his director's report to the board. These cities were Brownwood, Denison, Marshall, Palestine, Sulphur Springs, Waxahachie, Corsicana, Greenville, Mount Pleasant, Sherman, and Texarkana. Palestine and Waxahachie are Type B corporations, so I excluded them from my comparison. Corsicana and Texarkana do not have economic development corporations. Local Government Code Section 502.151 requires each economic development corporation to file a report with the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts by February 1st of each year. Each corporation must provide information regarding revenues and expenditures. The reported information is published by the Comptroller and is available to the public. I use the reported information for the 7 peer cities. Since I do not have any knowledge to the contrary, I must assume that the numbers reported by the peer cities are correct. I have copies of the reports and we will go over them with you in a minute. I do know for an absolute fact that the expenditures reported for PEDC are incorrect. So as not to make a false or misleading statement, I corrected the numbers in my comparison chart. To have used the incorrect numbers would have indeed been unethical. I instead used the correct numbers that have been audited by McClanahan and Holmes and are thus assumed to be correct. I have provided you with a copy of the PEDC report as filed with the Comptroller. I would like to go over this report with you and explain the corrections that I made. And in my explanation, I will be referring to the annual audit report prepared by McClanahan and Holmes, the general ledger prepared from information furnished to the City Finance Department by PEDC staff, and the line-by-line instructions for completing this report. Due to the volume of paper, I have not provided copies for each council member. I have, however, provided Ms. Ellis with a complete copy of these documents so that you will have them available to review if you desire. I believe that revenues are self-explanatory. The amounts reported by the Comptroller agrees to the audit financial statements and the amount reported on my comparison chart. There are no discrepancies.
Ms. Clifford, just one second. Is there any way to enlarge this? Because you can barely read them. Anybody over here? Can the size of the screen be magnified? Sorry to interrupt, but this. I think Dr. Clifford has a
Keyboard.
Here's the mouse.
forgotten hiding it.
Sure, I can.
Thank you. Much better. I'm sure people in the back can still see it, they cannot see, but we can see it. All right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Ms. Clifford.
That's okay.
Okay, it's all right.
Okay. The problem is in reporting of the expenditures. The corporation is required to list its total expenditures in each of the following categories: personnel, administration, marketing and promotion, direct business incentives, job training, debt service, capital cost, affordable housing, payments to taxing authorities, taxing units, and other. Each category is defined in the instructions. Personnel expenditures include expenses for salaries, wages, related employee benefits provided for all persons employed by the corporation. Employee benefits include employer contributions to the retirement system, insurance, sick leave, severance pay, and similar benefits. Again, there are no discrepancies between the three documents. The problem begins with the next categories. Let's first look at the definitions provided by the controller for administration, marketing and promotion, direct business incentives, job training, and debt service. Administration includes expenditures by the corporation, including contracts for services, car expenses, rent, supplies, employee training, and utilities. Marketing and promotion include any cost used to promote and market the economic development area. Brochures, advertising, direct mail, printing expenses, trade show expenses. Direct business incentives includes grants, cash, land, sales tax rebates, loans, job training, infrastructure development, loan guarantees, rent subsidies, and other incentives. Job training include payments for job training offered through a business enterprise. Debt service includes interest and principal payments on debts of the corporation. As I stated in my earlier presentation, the PEDC chart of accounts was revised in response to proposals made by Mr. Seeline. This chart of accounts complicates the tracking of expenses because there's no clear definitions for some categories. We now have large sums of money being spent on such strange categories as civic engagement and leadership, rural innovation and initiatives, global recruiting, and entrepreneurial resources. Expenditures in these categories should most logically be considered as advertising and promotion. The total of expenditures in these categories, when added to the amount spent for retail recruitment and identified promotional advertising, results in a total of $204,615, rather than the $39,811 that was reported to the state. Since I did not separately state advertising and promotion in my report, I will not dwell further on this discrepancy. Just note that it is 16.8% of revenue. We are permitted to spend no more than 10% for advertising and promotion. The report to the controller included amounts for industrial incentives and support rather than direct incentives only. These amounts must be segregated for the report because support does not meet the definition of direct business incentives. By comparing the general ledger to the financial statements, I determined that payments made to R3BI of $109,250 and to retail attractions of $33,000 were included in support. Clearly, these expenditures do not meet the definition of direct incentives. Also, expenses in new industry projects and existing industry projects, along with some audit adjustments, were included in support. Because there was no clear indication of what some of the expenditures in these categories were for, I used the audited financial statements. There was no reason to reinvent the wheel. The auditors already identified the incentives. Since the audited financial statements also report combined incentives and support figures, I used the accompanying notes to the financial statements to calculate the actual incentives. Note 6, which you have here on the screen, Ms. Ellis has a complete financial report. Note 6, commitments, on page 8 of the financial statements lists the incentive agreements to which PEDC committed as of September 30th, 2012. They are as follows. Warehouse company is to create 35 new jobs, providing an incentive of $105,000. Commercial dairy. The incentive is to provide cash and payments for creating 150 new jobs in Paris and Lamar County for 5 years, and this amount is estimated to be $664,300 and is expected to begin in 2017. Soup manufacturer. The incentive is to participate in the cost of solar storage in the extent of $100,000. Truck accessories. Company is to open a manufacturing facility in Paris, Texas, and create 15 new jobs. The incentive is for $324,250 for new jobs, training, and infrastructure. At September 30th, 2012, $226,118 of the incentive remains to be satisfied. PEDC has executed a guarantee in connection with the $100,000 note to the bank. Retail and office structure. Incentive is to participate in reimbursement of sewer line construction to the extent of $250,000. Therapeutic proteins manufacturer and distributor. Facilities to be located in Paris Industrial Park to create new jobs. PEDC has committed $219,760 to complete a market analysis, a site and facilities plan, a bridge loan, and additional incentives may be extended in the future. Item number 7, in connection with the first lien by a bank to a commercial operation in the amount of $5.8 million, PEDC has entered into a guarantee of collection agreement. The loan payment is guaranteed by an individual and related company, and in addition, PEDC has guaranteed the full and prompt collection of the principal and interest due under the note together with limited cost of collection. If the lender makes demand under the guarantee of collection agreement, the lender will allow PEDC to satisfy its liability in monthly installments as specified in the original note. The agreement is dated September 23, 2010, and will terminate when the note is paid or the expiration of 10 years. Number 8, in August 2012, the Board of Directors approved the renewal of a $2 million revolving line of credit with the bank for a future economic development project. The note is dated September 18, 2012, and bears interest at the initial rate of 1.29%, which is due monthly. The principal is due in one payment on September 18, 2014, and is secured by sales tax revenues and other income received by PEDC, except that portion of income currently obligated or subsequent bond issued as contemplated by the Series 2010 bonds. The interest rate is subject to change based on the change in the independent index, and the rate charged to be 1.9% under the index, which is September 12, 2012 was 3.25%. The note documents also provide for a right of set-off of the lender in all accounts, and the lender holds other restrictions pertaining to issuance of additional debt, maintenance of liquidity, and furnishing of financial information. As of September 30th, 2012, no funds have been advanced under this line of credit. Subsequent to the September 30th, 2012, PEDC drew $2 million under this line and loaned it to a manufacturing company located in Paris. And the loan bears interest on the rate of 3.25%. It's due September 18th, 2014, and is secured by equipment. Additionally, an incentive agreement relating to payment for jobs and training is being considered. Number 9, PEDC contributes to a simplified employee pension plan for its employees. The contribution rate is 5%, amounting to $7,915 during the year ended September 30th, 2012. Again, this is directly from the financial statements, the notes to the financial statements provided by McLennan and Holmes. According to this financial statement note, the only incentive paid in year ended September 30th, 2012 was for the truck accessories company in item 4. The note states that $324,250 has been approved and $226,118 remain to be funded. Therefore, $98,132 must have been funded during the year. In addition to this incentive, PEDC made a one-time contribution to a regional highway project for $1,488,588. This information can be found on page 12 of the audit report. These two expenditures, the truck accessories company incentive and the highway project contribution, total $1,586,720, the amount that I used for the direct incentives on my report. Certain job training required or suitable for the promotion or development and expansion of business enterprises can be a permissible project. PEDC may spend tax revenue for job training classes offered through a business enterprise only if the business enterprise agrees in writing to create new jobs that pay wages that are at least equal to the prevailing wage for the applicable occupation in the local labor area and agrees to increase payroll to pay wages that are at the least equal to the prevailing wage for the applicable occupation in the local labor market area. No job training expenditures were included in industrial support per the audited financial statements. Therefore, none were shown as job training expenses in my report. Again, that's there. Payments for both principal and interest must be reported as debt service. Again, according to the audited financial statements, PEDC paid $280,000 in principal and $71,088 in interest for a total debt service of $351,088. Debt service on the report to the controller is $70,542. The amount included on my comparison chart for administration, advertising, and promotion, the $662,339, is calculated by subtracting expenditures for personnel, which we've gone over, of $238,396, incentives, which I explained those two, $1,586,720, and debt service of $351,088 from total expenditures of $2,838,542. I have copies of the Controller's report for each of the 7 cities. If you wish, we can now go over each report and compare it to the numbers on the chart. In any case, I will provide a copy. I have provided a copy of the reports with Ms. Ellis for your review. Do you want me to go through the list and show each number, and we'll look up there and make sure the numbers are right, or can we agree that they're probably okay?
Are these the numbers that were reported to the controller?
You got it.
Was yes or no? Yeah, okay.
You'd like to see them?
No, I'm saying if it's what's on Texas Ahead?
Yes. If you'd
Okay.
like for me to go put them up here so we
No,
can
no.
all see that they are the same, we will.
I believe they're right.
We can go on?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
This is lengthy enough as it is, but I'll be glad to go through
Would
it.
you like to get some water?
No, thank you, I'm fine.
Okay.
Do y'all need to get up and walk around a minute and wake up?
No,
I can understand if you do, but,
You've been talking and talking, so I offered if you wanted some water.
okay. I'll let you take a break to walk around too. Oh, thank you. Thank you. In my comparison, I used data for the audited financial statement because it was clearly the most accurate. To have used the amounts to the controller that I knew were incorrect would have been wrong and unethical. Consider the implication of these numbers. According to my calculation, utilizing the audited and correct numbers, PEDC spent 74% in operating expenses, or 3.52 times the average of the 7 peer cities. We are spending over 3.5 times more in operating expenses than the average of the other cities identified by Mr. Gilbert himself as our peer cities. Even if you use the incorrect numbers that Mr. Wilson advocates, you will find that PEDC spending was excessive. Even these numbers show that our spending was 57% of our revenue. Using these numbers that have been proven too low shows that we spent 2.71 times the average of our peer cities. So using the incorrect numbers advocated by Mr. Wilson shows that PEDC was currently spending over 2.7 times as much as our money as our average peer city. Please understand, I'm not saying that we spent 27% more money. I'm saying that we spent 2.7 times as much money as our peer cities. And as I mentioned above, using the correct audited numbers shows that we are spending more than 3.5 times as much as our peers. Any reasonable businessman would conclude that there is need for improvement. Accountability is needed. My research into PEDC revealed that until recently, we had no written policies and procedures for operations. You expect the city to operate in accordance with written policies and procedures, so why would you expect anything less of PEDC? Written policies and procedures are simply good business practice. These policies are essential. PEDC should never pay $175 for a meal eaten by staff or a board member when no business prospect is present. New policies would ensure that if a PEDC staff member wishes to eat such a $175 meal, the taxpayers of Paris will not have to pay for it. Likewise, if a PEDC staff member wishes to stay in a hotel in Las Vegas for over $400 per night, policy must be in place to be certain that the excessive cost of this hotel room is paid for by that staff member, not the taxpayers of Paris. To improve our operations and to establish accountability, I appointed board members Bruce Carr and Vicki Ballard to write these policies and procedures. They have spent many hours researching and writing policies and procedures. Afterwards, they met briefly with staff to communicate the policies and procedures to them and to get their input. In no way did the amount of time spent with the staff keep them from doing their jobs. To date, the board has approved 12 policies. 4 more will be presented at our next regular meeting. I appreciate the work that Mr. Carr and Ms. Ballard are doing. They should be commended and most certainly should not be criticized. Let's look at why we need to address PEDC spending. Let's look at PEDC's 10-year financial plan as prepared by Mr. Gilbert. I want to make it clear that I did not prepare this document and I do not have any personal knowledge of its accuracy. I would hope that it fairly represents PEDC's commitments. It was given to me in response to questions raised in my email to Mr. Gilbert on May 2nd. All of the overspending that has occurred at the PEDC over the year has consequences. As you can see, the projecting ending cash balance does not give PEDC much to work with in providing any new incentives. Although not requiring a cash outlay, the debt on the $2 million line of credit and the contingent liability relating to the $5.8 million loan performance guarantee significantly impact PEDC's ability to borrow money for future incentives. We cannot control the money into PEDC, but we can control the money going out. Unfortunately, in the short term, we have frittered away most of our money. If the next Kimberly-Clark or the next Campbell Soups were to consider moving to Paris, we would not have the financial resources to make a competitive offer. Yes, all of the overspending indeed has consequences. We owe it to the citizens of Paris to spend their tax money wisely in order to create true economic development. As you can see from this, we start out at the beginning, cash on July 31st of $5,242,000, and by the end of 2015, we have a little under $300,000. So that's what I'm talking about, we don't have the cash. So, what is Mr. Wilson's point? What is his agenda? What is his motive? Does he condone this overspending? Does he wish to see it continue? In addition to addressing the spending guidelines, our new policies and procedures will address volunteer recruitment. These procedures are currently being addressed and will be presented at our next regular meeting. I trust that I have put the unfounded accusation of Mr. Wilson to rest. But now I wish to once again discuss a more serious concern. The most serious issue raised in my previous presentation was regarding the gifting of public tax funds to R3BI and the deception regarding the absence of the legally required contract. As I mentioned in my previous presentation, the law is unambiguous regarding the use of public tax funds. To quote from the 2013 Economic Development Handbook, economic development corporations cannot simply provide gifts of sales tax proceeds. The Attorney General has noted that expenditures of sales tax proceeds must be made pursuant to a contract or other arrangement sufficient to ensure that these funds are used for the intended and authorized purposes. An economic development corporation is required to enter into a written performance agreement with the business enterprise when the corporation provides funding or makes expenditures on behalf of the business enterprise in furtherance of a permissible economic development project. Written. I request a copy of the required contract. PEDC staff provided me a copy of a memorandum of understanding between PEDC, Paris Junior College, and R3BI. And I was led to believe that this was agreement under which the parties were operating. I later learned that the contract had never been executed. I find no evidence that any previous board member was aware of the absence of a legally required contract. To date, well over $350,000 of tax revenue has been illegally gifted to the incubator. We chose not to seek an Attorney General's opinion to avoid permanent and public embarrassment to the City of Paris and to the PEDC. Still, this issue is so clearly illegal that it must be investigated and appropriate action taken. The funding for structure for R3BI was not in compliance with governing law. This issue still needs to be addressed. In closing, I would like to first thank you for your time. I know this presentation was lengthy. I have provided you with documentation to support the numbers I used for PEDC expenditures. There is nothing false or misleading. They are simply the most accurate numbers to which I had access. It is unethical to use numbers that are known to be incorrect. And to add one last statement, it is highly offensive to make false accusations. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clifford, if you would please stay. Mr. Wright, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. I appreciate having someone to look after our monies.
Mr. Jenkins?
I appreciate your time and effort and everything you put in with this.
Ms. Lancaster?
It's obvious you've spent a great deal of time, and we appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Dr. Grossnickel?
I don't really have anything to say. I appreciate the explanation. I don't know if Mr. Wilson, I think his terminology was incorrect, and I certainly don't think that you are an ethical person by any means. I think his beef was that, well, if we had an audit of all these other cities, maybe their numbers would come out different too. But that, initially as presented, it was, comparing your figures as opposed to, just changing those figures, even though they are most likely much more correct. It was a change where you're not comparing apples to apples, but a slight change to an orange or something. So that's really all. I mean, I'm not in favor of what Mr. Wilson said.
Mr. Frierson?
Sure. I guess I would refer, excuse me, sorry, back to the last two sentences of Mr. Wilson's letter when, I guess going back to what Dr. Grossnickel said, the issue really to me, and I believe to Mr. Wilson, it's just my interpretation, is that those numbers came from a website that's an accepted number. And Paris also goes along with that. So there's obviously a disconnect here. If you're telling us Paris's numbers are wrong, there's a separate issue between you and Mr. Anderson. But then also, are we to believe that ours are the only ones that are wrong? You didn't
But I believe when I spoke to you, we had our meeting, I told you that I had no information regarding whether those numbers were right or wrong.
And as I told you, I understand that, but you're presenting yours as though they are infallible when you have no idea, and you're presenting those as also correct when you say ours have proven to be wrong. So that was the way that it was presented, and I think that was the biggest issue of heartburn for me is I was led down a road to say that these were the actual numbers when they weren't. They were your findings.
I explained those to you, and I showed you and told you that I got them from the audited financial statements. I explained every line to you, and I even showed you where to go on the website to get them.
Nobody's actually going after the issue of controlling costs or making improvements.
Then what is the point? That's what I don't understand. Whether you say it's too...
You're concluding that we are grossly overspending when you actually don't have any idea whether or not those are true or not. You're saying that they're true, but ours must be false. Well, they're on the same website. They go by the same criteria.
The same people don't input the numbers. And
so are you saying Mr. Anderson's not inputting them correctly?
No, I said he took them, that he combined the numbers that showed support and direct incentives rather than the incentives.
Well, you're also making the assumption that everybody else is correct and we're wrong.
Okay,
and
are you saying that we spend twice as much as everybody else? That's okay?
Oh, I haven't audited them, so I don't really know. I mean, if that's what we're going to go with, we need to compare apples to apples, and that was the first thing.
And so I know we talked too about whether, okay, let's go back. The point was that we need to have policies and procedures. I assume the city council has policies and procedures, and the city operates by policies and procedures. Is that correct?
The question about this was a matter of making sure that the public got the proper perception. And I think that was Mr. Wilson's, the genesis of his question.
I don't know, since I haven't talked to Mr. Wilson, I can't really say.
That's a great question. In his letter, he references that he reached out to Dr. Hashmi to try to coordinate a meeting with you. That did not happen?
Actually, I'll correct that. He did not reach out to me to coordinate a meeting. He wanted to get the answers, which I communicated. So his question to me was not that please arrange a meeting between PDC or Ms. Clifford and him.
Well,
I'll correct that.
I guess overall it's disappointing that it has to happen in this forum when blatantly you feel strongly about your numbers, and as far as controlling costs, that's the right way to go within reason, but it is disappointing that it has to happen in this forum.
But I guess according to open meetings, I cannot address the whole council without being in this forum. The email was sent to the council, so I had to address the council. This is the only way I had to do that.
Well, I mean, the council didn't, you asked to be here. I mean, nobody
Because
said,
I
please get
believe
Ms.
if I
Clifford up
called,
here.
said that you were guilty of some type of problem, I think you would want to address it too, sir.
And I do want to make a couple other points. When you go back to the cash flow statement, having said in those meetings, the board at that time agonized over those, realizing the constraints that would be put on them for the coming years. That being said, cash was their major source of, I guess their major asset, for lack of a better term, in trying to get industry and businesses to come here. So there was a lot of hand-wringing and weighing of options on whether or not to commit the funds to what we know now as Skinner, knowing that it would be a difficult road for the next few years. So I don't know if it's as much grossly overspending on a bar tab or a hat or any of those other things as much as it was they've decided to put all their chips in betting on Skinner to create 300 jobs. So, to characterize it as, are they using funds wisely? In that case, there was...
Well, they borrowed the money to do that, so it's not coming out of that cash, it's cash in, cash out. So the $2 million really has no effect other than our borrowing ability.
Well, I do know that the board that was appointed at that time had members of the financial community and other business leaders as well, and they felt as though that was the best way to do it. They went for months over that deal, and they decided that was the best way forward, knowing full well that there would be some restructuring and some planning that they would really have to do. But you don't get that many shots at 300 jobs. So that's not a point to argue. I just want the public to know that there aren't that many opportunities to get 300 jobs in that kind of investment, okay? And the next Campbell Soup or the next Kimberly-Clark came, and they came because they committed that money.
I'm talking about the one in 2015 that we don't have the funds for. And also, when we are saddled with a loan or collection guarantee of $5.8 million, then we have to consider that when we are trying to fund our next...
Well, I mean, if it's an issue of taking it up with the board's decisions at that time, those decisions are made. Now, I mean, as far as controlling costs moving forward, sure. I think everybody wants to use money wisely, but it was a very heartfelt and honest conversation to make sure that they looked at as many aspects in as many different directions as they could at that time.
And that is fine, and we have honored all the commitments that were made by previous boards because I'm sure they did take things into consideration. We are just looking forward, and the whole point of the issue was that we need to control costs and have policies. Everybody has agreed that the city has policies and procedures, and that's all we're doing, is controlling cost, policies, and procedures.
And I appreciate that making sure that things are as streamlined as they can be. I do want to point that out. That being said, Mr. Wilson's questions were the presentation of the numbers as they were that evening. And if you'd put them side by side, I think we would all have a clearer view and maybe had some additional questions.
But I'm sure he discussed them with you and you had told him exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to respond to accusations about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm just simply stating a fact and what I'm reading on this page.
That is fine, sir. I've received your point, and we'll go on then.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Drake?
Ms. Clifford, I appreciate your presentation tonight. It made things clearer for me, and I do appreciate that. As Mr. Farson has said, and you have said, the previous boards and what their decisions made, they made them at that time, I believe, is the best they thought was for the PEDC and the community. And I applaud them for that, because I am sure they were spent a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of time making those decisions. And I appreciate that we have a board now that is looking into the future with PEDC in the city of Paris and Lamar County, that we can continue to grow and bring jobs here. And I do agree that we needed the policies to be in place. And I applaud the two people that you appointed to go forward with that. And I applaud the staff of PEDC for working with them to try to bring this, hopefully, to a close. As far as name calling, I hope it ends. Enough of this is enough. And what I would like to see, I think there was a lot of misunderstanding between maybe the board, the city, Mr. Wilson, that in the future, that this doesn't have to become an issue where it comes out in the public like this, that maybe some meetings could be held to avoid anything like this in the future. But I just want to say I hope this is the end of it and that we can go forward and all work together. Thank you.
This was not my idea to do this.
Thank you.
I will put that.
I have a few comments. First of all, thank you for coming. I'm sure it took a lot of time and effort from you, from your time, that I'm sure you're a busy accountant, and so we greatly appreciate it. I also appreciate the fact, because I know this is not a paying job, and to do all of this and do the research, it takes a lot of time and effort. And sometimes you have to face some criticism. Right or wrong is not what I'm describing, but I think the intentions of everyone are clear. And hopefully we can make progress on this. And we appreciate all the effort that is being done by PEDC to reduce their expenses. And hopefully we'll have bigger companies come to town, as well as the existing companies further progress. And I would like to also say that we may be short on funds at some point, but I think cutting down on expenses and seeing what else can be done to support PEDC, what can be done to increase the sales tax revenue, what can be done so that the city has a bigger tax base, so that PEDC becomes a much more richer organization. So appreciate all your efforts. I also appreciate anyone's criticism. I face the same thing, you face the same thing, all of us face the same thing at one point or another, but your time and effort is greatly appreciated. And hopefully you will, small dents like these will not break you down and will not dishearten you, because your qualifications are not being questioned by any means. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, the three young gentlemen sitting in the front. Who are you and why are you here? Identify yourself.
My name is J.D. McGill, and I'm here because I'm taking a college class at PJC.
Uh-huh.
And I was told that this would be an interesting meeting to go to.
Okay, how about you? Like his source. Tell me that you're not in PJC because you look too young. Okay. All right, and who are you?
Grant McDowell.
Okay, and what are you studying?
Communications.
Okay, and did you enjoy the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Did you learn something from it?
I did.
Okay, and how about you?
My name's William Berg, and I'm just the tag along.
Okay. Well, did the tag along learn something too?
Yes, sir.
You want to be on the council or the PEDC?
The council, please.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. All right, we go from one heated topic to another heated topic. Item number 15, I think Mr. Wright has placed us, correct? Which is discuss a possible personnel audit and provide direction to the staff. Is it Mr. Godwin or Mr. Wright?
Well, I put this on here, but it's in response to a request from Mr. Wright
Okay, who wants to
do
speak?
this sort of thing. So-
Mr. Godwin wants to speak or Mr. Wright wants to speak?
Well,
Mr. Wright
I
wants to.
first made this request when Mr. Godwin first came to town. He had been here less than a month, and we sat out here where Ray Banks is sitting, and he asked each one of us what our thoughts were about things that we should do and what our interest was. And a personnel audit was mine. I note that the newspaper quoted Mr. Godwin as saying that people that didn't live here didn't know all the problems here. And I realized that he was an earthling because he was new and I didn't expect him to know it all either. So with that in mind, and the fact that the city has 325 budgeted full-time employees, and at the end of September had 17 people that were came from hiring partners, and the amount of monies that we paid these people, plus their benefits, was $18,014,766, or 54%, 38% of the total budget. I felt that it was important enough that we talk about and consider this as part of our budget-making process, which we did not. So I'm still of the opinion that, and I trust my banker, but if I go to the bank and I cash a check for $18,014,776, I'm damn well going to count it. With that having been said, I think for the most of us, I think that would dictate that it's a pretty important factor.
Anything else, Mr. Wright?
That's it. Thank you.
You want to respond to that?
No, we're just needing direction from the council, how you want us to proceed. Do you in fact want us to issue a request for proposals? If so, do you want it to be greatly detailed where a firm would come in and they would perhaps do job sampling, perhaps do interviews, perhaps observe people at their work? And the reason for that might be part of it, might not be, of course that has to do with cost too, is that you can't just say, well, this city has so many maintenance worker 2s or maintenance worker 3s, because in every city you talk to, it's got a different definition, they do different things. So to make sure that an outside organization, no matter how good a company they are, and there's a lot of good personnel companies out there that do studies for cities, especially having to do with salary and compensation, they have to kind of know what your people do. If you're just looking at gross numbers, that's a much simpler job. They can compare to other cities. We've got some of that information developed in-house that we were going to present during the budget this summer, but I didn't have a chance to do that. So I guess really two parts. One is, do you in fact want us to issue a request for proposals, and then what kind of detail do you want that request for proposals to have? Do you want to? You can spend a lot of money on this. I don't think you want to go too crazy on money, but you got to spend some money to have a company come in and do an accurate, worthwhile study. You don't want to waste your money either, just by some fly-by-night company.
I would like to say that I think Paris has some excellent employees. And I'm not saying that we have too many.
I understand.
But there may be some cases where some people would be of more value to the city if they were working in other places. Just to say a better fit.
Yeah, and it's easy over time for.
And with no changes, I think that I think it's a good investment.
So, Mr. Wright, should I take it that your suggestion is to get another company to come in to do the audit, or do you want the city itself to do its own audit?
I think we should get somebody outside.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins, you want to add something?
I have no questions for this.
Okay. Ms. Lancaster?
Not at this time.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Godwin. I think he's told us that he's, in his past positions, he has run a lean machine, so to speak, and after being here a year, minus your illness leave, do you feel like our city has got a lot of fluff? I don't remember. I know we've had some elimination of positions. I don't know the total number or the category of person they were, some of the department heads, and some of those you chose not to replace as of now.
Right.
So we're saving some money on their big salary. So what do you think? I mean, do you think this is money that would be wisely spent yourself, or do you think you can let us know? And how does our current employee level compare to that in the past? Because I think when Mr. Williams was here, there may have been a trimming of the workforce at that time.
Yeah, the staff used to be quite a lot larger than it is now. It has been stable for quite some time. I will say honestly that I had expected, and I was going to say a minute ago, that as an organization goes over time, it tends to add people and not lose people, and it gets in that condition. And I honestly expected to find some of that, and I really haven't found much of it. Now, again, I was out for 2.5 months this summer when y'all were talking about the budget, and I regret that for a lot of reasons. As I said, we started doing a survey of other cities, trying to see what other cities, because sometimes it's a hard comparison to make, but sometimes you can see really big outliers. And we were kind of middle of the road on everything except for police, EMS, and part of that's because we've got separate departments. Part of it is numbers of stations and so forth. And that's the other thing you have to do is you factor in how many lane miles and how many miles of water lines and sewer lines and how many stations do you operate and how many visits and that and so forth. Our police department, I don't think, is at all overstaffed. In fact, we'd like to add a traffic unit. We'd like to add some more folks in CID, but we just can't afford to do that. The water and sewer folks, I think, have a hard time keeping up with all the leaks. We're pretty sure that's going to get better in the next couple of years as we build $35 million worth of infrastructure. So we certainly don't want to add people and then get rid of them again in a year or two. The water plant, the sewer plant, I think probably need 1 or 2 more people, but we have an unusually good number of operators out there who are doing a fantastic job of operating really old plants. And then there's areas you could add people if you wanted to. For example, the library. If you want to be open another day, you could add people, but if you don't want to be open another day, you probably don't need to add people. Libraries get fewer visitors than they used to, but they get different types of visitors now, online visitors, computer visitors, and sometimes those aren't as intensive a use. But anyway, that's a really long answer. I'm just rambling, and I apologize, but it's just hard to tell just off the top of your head, and it does require you to study that. And I've worked in a couple of large organizations where we had a unit that was inside the organization where this was their job. They would go around the city or around the county, and they would study individual operations, and they would make recommendations, and we almost always found ways to cut staff, and that's kind of been my tendency. And when I met you guys the first time last spring, I told you that the last 2 places I've worked, we had a lower per capita, fewest employees per capita than virtually any city in the state of Texas, and that was something we were really proud of in both of those places. Now, that's not the case in Paris, I can tell you, because of some of the things that happened, some of the old infrastructure and so forth and so on. If we have too many, I don't know, frankly, whether we do or not. So I think the exercise is certainly worthwhile, and it's one we will do, whether we do it in-house or whether we do it with a contractor. So I certainly agree with what Mr. Wright's saying. He's exactly right. You just need to do this every now and then.
I think I read in the paper where you have already done one. I didn't know anything about it. I don't know about the rest of the council.
I've done.
You were quoted in the paper as having said that you had already done a.
We did a survey of other cities. We started that, and that was going to be part of our presentation during the budget. Sandy Collard, the HR manager, did that in, I'm guessing, May, right before I was out for a long time. So we didn't have that information to present to you, and we still haven't even analyzed a lot of it. And that's an example of making comparisons to other cities. For example, one of the places we compared ourselves to was Texarkana. Well, that horrified Doug Harris because Texarkana also includes Texarkana, Arkansas, and they have a whole weird thing there. And he's like, please don't count Texarkana. And then also, Doug's the only person who operates a sewer plant that was built in World War II. So Doug doesn't necessarily like to be compared to anybody because he's one of a kind. But anyway, bottom line is I think it's a good idea to do this. The issue is whether you want to spend the money or do you want to try to do it in-house or some combination of the two. And that's a council decision. We'll do whatever you want us to do.
I think I could see doing it in-house if the figures quoted are, $30,000 to $80,000. Then I think perhaps we could give it a shot ourselves, and then if it doesn't work out and we're not satisfied that we got accurate data, we could seek outside counsel. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
Well, I just appreciate John's comments, and Dr. Gross-Nickle asked pretty much exactly what I was going to. So if it's a good exercise, and I think making sure you've got your finger on the pulse of things is a good exercise, then I would be for it, but most likely to do it in-house rather than pay another consulting firm.
Ms. Drake?
How long has it been since we've done one, whether it was in-house or out-of-house? Do you know?
I don't believe we've ever done it.
Have we ever done one recently?
And that's much more common. These consulting firms, they do compensation studies on a pretty regular basis for a lot of municipalities.
Didn't at one time the comptroller's office offer that service?
I don't know. I've not heard that.
I know they did for the school system because I remember having it done there.
Then they very well may.
I don't know if they do it for the cities or not.
They used to do that. They haven't done it probably in the last 4 or 5 years. They've quit the program, but they did used to do that.
Well, I think it's a good idea if we've never done one, to have one done. But I'm sort of like Dr. Gross-Nickle and Mr. Frierson. I would like to sort of see what we come up with maybe first. And like I said, I think you had sort of started it, but due to your illness weren't able to complete it. And so I'd like to be able to see you have the opportunity to complete it. And then if we still have a lot of questions or it did not show what we feel like need to be shown, then to come back and look at hiring an outside firm, because that's a lot of money to spend if we can do it in-house, or at least give you the opportunity to do it in-house. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. Mr. Wright, you want to add something before?
No.
Okay. My opinion on this is I'm always all about audit, transparency, and accountability, and I would favor it which way one wants to do it, whether in-house or whether out-house, whichever which way works best.
Outhouse?
The other thing that I would say is I understand the concerns for spending money, but by the same token, I would say that in almost a $25 million budget, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, we should always spend money carefully, but if that's what it takes to do an audit, well then that's what it takes to do an audit. So I'm not one way or another on this, that which way one wants to do it. I think which way the council decides to do it, I think it should be done, because I think when we don't do it for a long period of time, it creates loopholes, and I think those loopholes should be closed. And now, then I'm not saying that you're doing a bad job, and I'm not saying that the city employees are not required or anything, but I think it is always good to reevaluate ourselves and see where we stand. Maybe we will find out that the police department does actually need some more people. And maybe
that's probably not a good example.
And maybe some other department people can be moved around a little bit. Again, no reflection that anyone's doing a bad job. It's just that I think it's good to be held accountable for your position.
I agree. The public is paying our salaries, and we need to always be cognizant of that.
And so I'm all for it, which way works best, I think. But I think if one is to give direction, my personal direction is pick out a way of doing it and do it, but definitely do it. So, Mr. Wright, any further comments on this?
No.
What would you like to do, in-house or out-house? Let's just go through it.
I don't know how objective you can be judging yourself.
Okay?
I just know that I like me pretty good.
Okay. Do you want to start with an in-house thing and then move over, or would you just start with an outsourcing?
That would be good.
Maybe what we could do is get some quotation on how much it will actually cost to do it in-house versus out. I don't want to keep using outhouse.
Outsourcing.
Outsource consultant, which I'm not a big fan of. But
Mr. Mayor, you've been making good use of subcommittees of council members too, and if you do end up doing it in-house, this might be a thing to have, one or two council members kind of working with me, or I meet with them once a month, that sort of thing, to provide some of you folks that aren't getting paid by the city, that you're doing this for free, that y'all have some oversight or review or input. That way it helps me and helps you both as we go along.
I want to come to a conclusion on this today, so that we don't want to table this. Let's decide what does one want to do. So you want...
I would go either way.
You'd go either way?
If it didn't look like a good job, I might want to redo it.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to start with in-house and go to outsourcing afterwards?
Sure, I'd do that.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All in favor of saying do it as an in-house thing to begin with, and then see how it proceeds after that.
Can we vote on this, or is this just direction to staff?
It's actually direction to staff.
Okay.
Yeah,
But we still need to come to a consensus.
I like that.
Like that, everyone is
And
in
I-
favor
and I-
of...
And I think John has a good suggestion of some of the council.
Okay, so how
meeting
about
with
we ask Mr. Wright to be on this with Mr. Godwin? Who else wants to volunteer? Mr. Frierson will volunteer. Okay, so the two of you can see. God, we are coming to what Mr. Frierson wants to do now.
No, he's not. That's
The
something else.
anticipation is killer.
It's a killer, okay, all right. Well, before we get to that, I do want to say one thing, and that, actually we're not.
We're not finished.
Oh, you better have it short. I forgot all about that item 16.
I have a 47-second presentation for you.
Just go to the last slide.
All right, item number 16 is receive presentation from Mr. Napier on MyGov permitting software. Mr. Napier.
We'll cover this pretty quickly. Go one more, John. Keep going. The one that says future. There you go. We'll cover this rather quickly then. As you've been provided in your packet, you kind of walk through.
You don't have
the
to cover it
timeline.
quickly. We are here to do the job, so take your time.
All right.
Don't rush it through, because we've all been wanting to hear.
Well, as you know, back in September 2011, council members, a different council back then, was wanting to look at ways to improve efficiency within the permitting department. So we started looking at ways to do that. One was through an online resource of doing permitting, code enforcement, and a lot of other city-related functions, tying that into a permit software or something like that.
I think we were all here in 2011, weren't we?
No.
Oh, some of us were not here, okay.
No, not quite everyone.
All right.
Well, back through that time period, we kind of formed a committee back in January 2012 and started looking at all the various different softwares that may be out there and the aspects of those, and ended up looking at one called MyGov, which is what we're currently using. That MyGov software has modules for GIS, Global Information Systems, Code Enforcement, Public Works, Request Tracker, Permits and Inspections, and Contractor Registration. We're currently only using 4 of those modules. We visited...
And what are those modules?
Well, the ones we're actually using right now is Code Enforcement, which is Robert Talley and the two Code Enforcement officers are using. That basically, what that kind of does is it includes all the different code areas, violations. It lists out all their permits, all their different violations you can do. It lists a process for each one, and then within that document you can create a CAN form, a CAN letter, and through this it will actually infill your address. It puts everything in there, like for high grass and weeds. It can develop that information and make it a lot faster and simpler than having to go in and retype every letter, rather than just creating a location.
Which other module besides code enforcement?
We're using code enforcement. We're using Request Tracker, which took the place of GovQA, which everyone had problems with, issues with. Request Tracker seems to be working much better. We're doing permits and inspections, which is where we're writing our building permits and also doing our inspections of buildings through there. And then we're also using contractor registrations where that stores all the contractor information for doing permits and inspections.
And Mr. Napier, how far have we gotten with the permits and inspections on it? What are the things, can I go online and get a permit, and if so, for what?
You can. What we're actually doing is I think we're up to 5 or 6 different people we're online with right now. We're trying to do all the different disciplines and trades. Like right now we have a list here. Exxon Plumbing is online as a plumber. We're trying to work out all the bugs in the online systems, what we're doing. They've actually been online. They've submitted 2 or 3 different permits online, and we're working through this process. We've got Hargis Electric, who has also submitted a few permits online. Scott Signs through the different sign permits. We've also got Bobby Smallwood Construction, Guest Concrete set up. So we're adding people as they come in, making sure if they want to do that or not, because some people just want to walk in, get a permit. Not everyone wants to use a computer to come get a permit. So we are adding people, a few every week. We're trying to add a few people who come in who are interested, want to do that. And then what we're really working on right now is the payment part, which we're trying to get with STW, who does all of our financial software, and work that out with STW and MyGov, to where you can pay with a credit card online and not have to do anything at the city. You can submit your plans, submit your permit, and pay right there sitting at your computer. And that would be the hope by the end of this year that is completely done. And any contractor who would want to sign up currently can come to our office, and we will walk you through the process and sign you up to do that. Mr. Justin Oliver back here, who we've been meeting through our CFP meetings, is currently working over that software with us and adding people as basically as their request to come online with that software. And so far we've had a lot of good results for that, because a lot of people like submitting. I know Alex from Scott's Custom Signs really loved it. I think she's up to 6 or 7 permits she submitted online so far, and it seems to be working out quite well. But we are finding little bugs and errors through there, and that helps us out when they let us know what they find. So when it goes generally online for everyone, we don't run across the same problem and everybody just kind of gives up on it. We don't want that to happen.
And have you actually issued a building, I'm not talking about small trade permits, have you actually issued a building permit yet, or gone through that exercise?
Not an entire permit. We found some other issues with that, and we'll go into full detail, but we found some minor issues with adding people into, adding the smaller contractors into the larger building permits, because when you come get a building permit, anyone can do that, and you basically tell us right now who your plumber is, who your electrician is, who's your HVAC contractor. You tell us who those people are. And what we found out is, and not against anyone out there, but people will list someone and not use that person. And when it comes time to do an inspection, that becomes a problem, it becomes an issue, because what we found is some of the people that they list on there have their up-to-date license, their up-to-date insurance, and some people they're actually using do not. So we're trying to find a way to make that where the contractor, the HVAC plumber, they have to come in and log themselves into that permit. And that's what we're looking at now, is to try to avoid situations like that.
The city that you visited, does it do building permits?
Yes.
Are they completely online?
Yes, they are. They allow anyone to do whichever they choose. Okay. They still said they have people who don't want to use a computer, walk in with a set of plans, get a permit, they do that, or they can submit them online and pay online.
How long was it before they were able to start and finish and be completely up online?
From what they told us from the date they first kind of looked at it, they took 9 months to sit down and process with a team to do a flow chart for each area, to go into that, then they started implementing it. So it took them much longer. We have a smaller staff, and we're still trying to do our everyday jobs while implementing this. Right now we're a little over a year into it, and I think we've come a long way. We had some staff turnover, some changes there, and we're all trying to get up to speed. And I know a lot of you guys have met Mr. Joey Sleeper, who's our building official. He's actually implemented some new ideas, some new changes, which we're trying to implement as well and work through that. And he's only been here since February. So.
When do you expect to get done, I'm sorry, with it?
We hope to have everything kind of finished as far as our part goes by the end of this year, and allowing people who would want to use the online system to do so.
Okay, Mr. Wright, you have it.
You might get Obama to help you some.
Well, that's what we're hoping to avoid, are those bugs.
All right. keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted, but I didn't want to miss the question.
Right, the last thing, like I said, in the future things, some of the things we're looking at, like obviously the online payments, the online contractor registration, which is figuring out the subcontractor issue, which is mentioned, dilapidated structures, that's the area into code enforcement that's just been added recently. And we're looking at looking at cleaning up some things such as addressing and parcel information. And then we've got a lot of minor stuff that we're, meeting applications such as HPC, zoning boards, any of our zoning boards, allowing them to do that online as well. So we're looking at expanding that into other areas as well. And you kind of read through some of the other things that we're looking at doing there. But for the most part, just kind of wrap that up. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. But like I say, there's pros and cons with each software. We kind of ran through a lot of pros and cons beforehand, checking out which cities are using what software. What kind of boiled down to is this process, our data is not hosted by us, which in talking to Kent Klingerman, you're having to buy your own server, pay for that, upgrade that. We finally found a system that they host where we're not out that system data cost for us. We are paying about $2,000 a month currently for the 4 modules, but they take care of everything. You call, you got a problem, they walk you through it, they help you set that up. So we do have that with them, which their customer service is really good. Plus, they work with a lot of other cities making changes, implementation to make it better. You do not have to pay to get those upgrades. They automatically give those to you or ask you if you would want to do that as well. So that's one good thing about it.
How big is the city where you went?
It was Farmers Branch.
Okay.
Not quite sure how large Farmers Branch is.
About 35,000.
35?
Okay.
Greenville was using part of the software as well at the time, and a few other cities around us.
Ms. Drake?
No, I know it's something that, we all wanted it done yesterday, but I appreciate y'all getting the bugs out because we do not want it to be like federal government.
No,
So I appreciate y'all trying to get the bugs out and all the hard work. So I look forward to hopefully seeing all this by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions for me.
Dr. Grossnickel?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
Great job.
Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Wright?
No question.
Thank you. I wanted it done yesterday, but that's all right.
We're trying. If I could just real quick thank Justin Oliver. He's the guy that's in charge now, and he's doing a great job of making it happen.
Very good. Mr. Godwin, I have a request. I'm going off the agenda for just a second so that I don't forget. Can we at some point hear from you of what you did about recycling in Fairview? Sure. And see if that is something we can put on the agenda and discuss it and see if that can be done in town?
Absolutely.
Thank you. With that said, we have item number 17, which is consider and approve future events for the City Council and City staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081. I do want to say one thing, and that is the meeting schedule for November and December, if it is acceptable to all the council members. There's a slight change in meeting times because of upcoming holidays. And we felt that November 11th, which was a regular meeting, would be fine. November 25th, there will be no meeting because it's just a couple, around from Thanksgiving. December 2nd will be the regular meeting instead of December 9th. And the reason for that is otherwise it gets too far out. And then our second meeting in December would be December 16th instead of December 23rd. So if it is acceptable to all, those would be the meeting schedule days for the upcoming couple of months. Acceptable to all?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Frierson, please do the honors.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again.